The door to her chambers opened without a sound, but Odette felt the intrusion all the same. She didn't turn from the window, her gaze fixed on the lanterns being lit in the city below, each one a pinprick of light in the encroaching dusk.
You look troubled on the eve of your celebration. King Cashin's voice boomed, softened slightly by the opulent room. He came to stand beside her, his reflection smiling in the glass. The entire kingdom has come to celebrate you, my swan. Duke's Barons, I've even received confirmation that the silver arrow of the money and empire himself has accepted. Your 18th birthday will be legendary.
Odette's heart gave a single, hard thump against her ribs. She kept her voice carefully neutral. You invited Lancelot?
Of course. His fame brings us prestige. And besides, he lowered his voice, leaning in with a conspiratorial air that made her skin prickle. A girl should have options. There will be many worthy suitors for you to consider tonight.
Finally, she turned from the window, meeting her father's proud gaze. The defiance that flashed in her blue eyes was quickly banked beneath the weight of duty. I am sure it will be a memorable evening, father. At the top of the grand staircase, Odette's breath felt tight in her chest. The ballroom below was a swirling sea of color and noise, a spectacle of wealth and power assembled in her name. She was a statue in a gown of moonlight and frost, the diamond tiara a cold weight on her silver blonde hair.
The announcer's voice cut through the hum, presenting Her Royal Highness Princess Odette, the swan of the kingdom.
A hush fell. 100 faces turned up to her. Forcing a serene smile, she began her descent. Each step was measured, a performance in itself. But her eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were not for the crowd. They scanned the masses, a frantic, hopeful search amidst the blur of admiring smiles and calculating stares. Where was he?
Lancelot felt the starched collar of his tailcoat like a vice. He had faced down dragons with less trepidation than this ballroom. He stood anchored in a corner, a glass of champagne feeling absurdly delicate in his swordsman's hand.
And I myself have slain a dozen boars in a single hunt, a foppish noble in peacock blue silk declared, puffing out his chest. My reflexes are unparalleled, I tell you.
Lancelot swirled the liquid in his glass, murmuring, My congratulations to the boars for their noble effort. His gaze, restless and bored, swept across the dance floor, and stopped. At the bottom of the stairs, a vision in white and silver had captured the light and the attention of every soul in the room. But her eyes, those luminous blue eyes, were searching, and when they found his, the world seemed to shrink. The noise faded. He offered a small, genuine smile, a silent message sent across the crowded. He moved with the same unnerving speed she remembered, a blur of black tailcoat cutting through the throng of suitors all converging on her at once. He arrived a half-breath before the others, and simply offered his hand. My lady, Lancelot said, his green eyes holding hers. A promise is a promise. She placed her hand in his, and as his fingers closed around hers, the last of her tension melted away. The orchestra began a stately waltz, and they fell into step, a picture of perfect grace.
You came, she said softly, her voice barely audible over the music.
I told you I do not make promises lightly, he replied, leading her into a turn. His posture was ramrod straight. Though I confess I find this more terrifying than a den of dragons.
Odette allowed a small, real smile to touch her lips. The dragons, at least, are in better tailoring. As they danced, Odette became acutely aware of the source of his tension. His lead was firm and sure, but his entire body was rigid with concentration.
I must warn you, Lancelot muttered, his eyes flicking down for a microsecond. My expertise is in the art of the blade, not the box step. If I tread upon your foot, you have my full permission to retaliate.
Noted, Odette replied, her smile widening. I shall consider it a declaration of war.
He spun her, his movement surprisingly graceful but his focus absolute, as if navigating a field of hidden caltrops. Left, right, turn, don't trip on the diplomat, he whispered to himself. This is worse than sword practice. The sheer absurdity of the legendary bladesman being bested by a waltz broke through her royal composure. A clear, Genuine laugh escaped her, turning several heads. The sound made Lancelot look at her, and seeing her joy, his own grimace finally relaxed into a wry, relieved grin.
The cool night air was a blessing. They stood side by side on the empty balcony, the muffled music from the ballroom a distant echo. The moonlit gardens below were a tranquil mirror to the chaos they had left behind. "It is the same garden," Odette murmured, leaning on the stone balustrade. "But it feels different tonight."
"Because you are different," Lancelot said, turning to face her. "You are no longer the princess in the garden. You are the princess of the entire ballroom." He paused, his voice dropping. "And you are breathtaking."
A blush warmed Odette's cheeks. She looked up at him, at his blonde hair silvered by the moon and his earnest green eyes. "And you, Sir Lancelot, are surprisingly good with words when you are not comparing dances to combat." Their moment was shattered by the strident voice of suitor number 2, who strutted onto the balcony, a scroll of parchment in his hand.
"Princess," he announced, striking a dramatic pose, "I have composed a sonnet in your honor. Oh, fairer than the summer's rose, with hair like spun gold and a nose that, well, a very nice nose." He cleared his throat importantly. "Thy grace doth make the very swan seem coarse."
From the lake directly below, a large, pristine swan, as if delivering a divine critique, let out a particularly loud, derisive honk. Lancelot choked, turning a laugh into a sudden, coughing fit. Odette brought a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking with silent mirth. Suitor number 2 deflated, his face falling as he stared, mortified, at the lake.
Lancelot regained his composure, his face a perfect mask of deadpan seriousness. "It seems the critical review is in." The suitor crumpled his sonnet and scurried away, leaving them alone once more, their shared laughter a new, secret bond.
The laughter faded, leaving a comfortable silence. Odette's smile softened into a sigh. "This is my life. Sonnets and suitors and cages."
Lancelot watched her, his expression growing serious. "Then break out of it." He leaned closer, his voice low and intense. "Tomorrow. At dawn. Meet me at the garden gate. No guards, no ball gowns. I will show you the world I promised. Even if it's just for a day."
Odette's eyes widened, her breath catching. "You would?"
"I told you I am a man of my word," he said, his gaze unwavering. "Let this be my birthday gift to you. A day of true freedom."
When they returned to the ballroom, the orchestra was playing the final, slow waltz. This time, when he took her in his arms, there was no tension, only an easy harmony. They moved as one, closer than propriety allowed, her head nestled near his shoulder. "Dawn at the garden gate," she whispered, the words a secret against the fabric of his tailcoat.
He held her tighter. "I will be there," he vowed, his voice a rumble she could feel. "I would wait through 100 such balls for a single dawn with you." They swayed, oblivious to the other couples, to the watching eyes, to everything but the promise hanging between them in the gilded air. On the palace steps, as the night drew to a close, King Cassian bid formal farewell to his guests. Lancelot stood before Odette, the picture of chivalry. "Thank you for your hospitality, your highness," he said loudly, for the king's benefit, bowing perfectly over her hand. Then, his voice dropped to a whisper meant only for her. "Until dawn, my swan princess."
He released her hand and turned to go. As he walked down the steps, his blonde hair seeming to glow in the torchlight, Odette's fingers lingered in the air where his had been. She watched until his figure was swallowed by the shadows of the path, not with the sadness of their first parting, but with a thrilling anticipation that warmed her from within. She brought her hand to her heart, a genuine, hopeful smile gracing her lips as the castle's clock tower began to chime midnight. The ball was over, but her adventure was just beginning.